Feeling stuck with the same old licks while jamming on the guitar? It's time for a change. And this lesson will help you take a big step towards easily navigating the fretboard. And we'll do this by diving into arpeggios. If you're just getting started on the guitar, arpeggios can help you map the fretboard. And if you're a more seasoned player, they can help you understand what you're doing on the fretboard. Either way, knowing arpeggios will help you avoid feeling like you're lost in the dark when you play. Let's get started with the basic major arpeggio. Before arpeggios can help you navigate the fretboard, you gotta know what they are. And simply put, an arpeggio is a chord, but instead of playing all the notes at once, we play them one at a time. Let's see the G major arpeggio and the chord that it relates to on the fretboard. It's like taking a chord and breaking it into its building blocks, a sequence of notes. That's really what it is. And being able to find arpeggio notes is really helpful when you're soloing or playing a quick lead fill even. These are the notes that will work with the music. And of course you can and you should color your leads with other notes, but highlighting the arpeggio is basically guaranteed to sound good. And that's what makes it a great place to start. So let's plot out the basic 3-note major arpeggio. Let's start from the G on the 6th string 3rd fret. And we need the major third above that because our G major chord is root major third perfect fifth, so is our arpeggio. And we can find that major third by counting up 4 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. We can also find it there. Let's use this one just to show you a nice compact way to play this G major arpeggio. But right off the bat, you might recognize this as coming from a big open G major chord. That's the root and the third, okay? Now we need to find the note that is 7 half steps. So if we keep going from 4 to 5, 6, and 7, we'll find the perfect fifth. That's 7 half steps above this root, right? So we have our root, major third, perfect fifth. Right here. Now, each of these notes, and if you know the note names, that's G, B, and D, they show up in any voicing of a G major chord. We've got this one that's got all 6 strings playing something here, and if you've got 6 strings, but you only need 3 notes, we've got some duplication here. We've got our G, then we've got our D, that's cool, but then we've got another G, an octave higher. Then we got a B, that's the first B that we have. So really if we stop there, we hear the essence of a G major chord, but on the guitar, we've got another D on the 2nd string, and another G, yet another octave up. Understanding the concept of an arpeggio is one thing, but actually using them is when things really get fun. And to use them confidently, you need to have the ability to play the arpeggio anywhere on the neck. Let's take the same sequence of notes from before and repeat them in different octaves and positions on the fretboard. Remember, a major chord, and therefore a major arpeggio, contains a root, major third, and a perfect fifth. And finding these intervals in various positions on the neck is crucial for playing arpeggios anywhere. So let's try this though. Let's get started with the G major arpeggio, starting on the 5th string G note. Notice how the relative locations of the 3rd and the 5th are the same as we moved across the strings. And this understanding helps us climb up the fretboard with the arpeggios. Let's try it again, but from the 4th string G note. But there's another way that we can find that perfect fifth above the 4th string G note. That's going to take us in a different direction. Now we can connect the 6th string and the 4th string arpeggios for a 2-octave arpeggio. Looks like this. Now we have 2 options for finding the perfect fifth. One that kind of falls this way above where your index finger is, and the other falls this way below where your index finger is. What if we find another location for the major third that's above the index finger? Let's try that. This gives you options, and the more options that you know, the more comfortable you're going to be anywhere on the neck. And as cool as moving around the neck with these important notes really is, and it is cool, we aren't really sounding that bluesy here, let's be honest. But we can change that by mixing in one small note to the major arpeggio. By adding one note to our major arpeggio, we get a completely different vibe, which is perfect for the blues. To turn our G major into a bluesy G7 arpeggio, we need to add one more note, the flat 7th. And this note always sits one whole step or 2 frets lower than the root, or the octave. In major keys, the 7th is usually major, but when we flatten it, it gives us a gritty, intense sound, which is the hallmark of the blues. Notice how the G major sounded a little bit stable and pleasant, but there's an unsettled and dissonant sound to the G7. That's the bluesy sound we're after. It's all about that flat 7th. So let's add that note to the G major arpeggios and hear this sound at work. Notice how just one note changes the entire feel. Now let's see how we can play this bluesy dominant 7 arpeggio anywhere on the neck. We're going to move through 2 more positions. By mastering this, you're not just learning a pattern, you're tapping into a deeper understanding of how notes are laid out on the fretboard. So try integrating this into your playing and feel the difference. And here's a quick example of a lick played from the G7 arpeggio, just to give you an example that maybe you can shoot for. This is huge, really. Let's step back and think about it. We took the major arpeggio and just converted it into a different arpeggio with an entirely different sound. And that's a big point. Sometimes the sound that you're looking for is just one note away. And if you're into the blues, you gotta get the dominant 7th sound under your fingers. Earlier in the video, I mentioned that finding intervals is crucial to playing the arpeggios anywhere. Intervals are really the base layer of music, and knowing them can do so much more for your playing than just learning arpeggios. Plus, there are other intervals that have their own unique sound, and knowing them can help you truly master the fretboard. So watch this intervals masterclass next to learn what they are and how to find them anywhere on the fretboard. I'll see you there. Until then, practice smart and play on.